the energy usage is not well understood. For example, 3 years ago, someone thought that energy was used in transactions. And then they thought, since energy is used in transactions, if we scale up the number of transactions, eventually Bitcoin will boil the ocean. And that wasn't true either, because the Bitcoin network never increases the number of transactions, and the energy usage is unrelated to transactions. And in fact, the energy usage is decreasing exponentially.
Welcome to Dream Richer. Many new investors are surprised to know that one of the biggest hurdles to Bitcoin is not the rate at which it is adopted, or the political talks, but in fact environmental concerns. Over the years, environmental concerns over Bitcoin have seen large whales such as Elon Musk decide to pull away from the asset for a brief period of time. The point of Bitcoin, according to Nakamoto's founding white paper, was to enable instantaneous, borderless transactions without the high fees or foreign exchange barriers that exist today. Facilitating everyday transactions, however, given the Bitcoin gold rush, has come with a catch: massive electricity consumption. If Bitcoin were a country, it would rank in the top 30 worldwide for energy use. That's roughly enough electricity to power countries with populations in the tens of millions, with an environmental burden of an estimated 34 megatons of carbon emissions or more. Of course, Bitcoin isn't unique among cryptocurrencies in terms of its environmental burden, but its high-profile and uniquely inefficient transaction approval system makes it an easy scapegoat. If you find the video helpful, then don't forget to subscribe. Let's get right into it.
But if you dig a bit deeper, you'll find that actually Bitcoin is much cleaner energy than all the rest of the applications. Cars, planes, trains, automobiles. It's pretty obvious planes use fossil fuels. There's no hope for them not to. Bitcoin doesn't. Bitcoin is actually something that runs on electricity. It doesn't run on fossil fuels. You know, most cars still use fossil fuels, and even electric cars are charged at charging stations that are charged with fossil fuels. So the environmentalists ultimately are going to focus upon the energy grid, and if they want to shut down fossil fuels or change the energy mix away from coal or something, they'll do that. Bitcoin is the highest value application of energy on a wholesale basis that we have in the world. There's nothing more valuable. There's no more valuable use of energy than Bitcoin. The typical residential electricity cost is 13 cents a kilowatt hour. Industrial usage in the first world is 11 cents a kilowatt hour. And all of that energy has to be co-located with the factories and the people. Right? We don't have an application, an industrial application of energy like Bitcoin that you can put anywhere on Earth. So what's the result? The result is that Bitcoin is used to recycle stranded energy or wasted energy. Bitcoin is a perfect energy battery because you can run it at night while the people are asleep and the air conditioning is off. And so you level out energy consumption on the grid, thereby driving down the cost of energy for everybody on Earth. And so what if I told you, Tom, I've actually got infinite free sustainable energy and it's 1,000 miles away from a city? What are you going to do with it? Well, the only obvious thing to do with it is Bitcoin mining.
Energy consumption isn't the only point of concern for Bitcoin. Its process also takes an immense amount of time, upwards of 10 minutes per Bitcoin transaction. Other digital transactions, like those powered by Visa, take less than a second and use roughly 1/500,000th of energy because they rely on a centralized authority to verify transactions. Solving Bitcoin's near-continent-sized energy consumption problem doesn't require returning to centralized systems, like Visa's network. After all, the central promise of Bitcoin is the elimination of middlemen like the card networks and their concentrated power over finance. Instead, Bitcoin's advocates have more than a few options. The biggest of these is to switch to renewable energy. Currently, an estimated 39% of proof-of-work mining is performed using renewable energy. So perhaps the most obvious path to a green future for Bitcoin is simply to increase that figure.
So Bitcoin is migrating to the ends of the earth to the most sustainable energy, which is also the cheapest energy, which is also the greenest energy. And it's a solution to the problem of how do we catalyze sustainable energy? How do we get green? It's also a solution to every country's problem. You know, you're in the middle of Africa with a waterfall and no industry. How are you going to lift your people out of poverty? Well, you plug, a turbine into your waterfall, you plug Bitcoin mining into the turbine, and now you have cheap energy that's green, that's plugged into a clean, hard currency exporter that pays taxes, that elevates you out of poverty, that's environmentally friendly. I think that the mining, the energy usage is not well understood. For example, 3 years ago, someone thought that energy was used in transactions, and then they thought, since energy is used in transactions, if we scale up the number of transactions, eventually Bitcoin will boil the ocean. And that wasn't true either, because the Bitcoin network never increases the number of transactions, and the energy usage is unrelated to transactions. And in fact, the energy usage is decreasing exponentially. Bitcoin energy usage, for example, is exponentially falling. The latest generation of miners generate 5x as many hashes for the same amount of electricity. So in fact, energy consumption decreases 80% per exahash.
Whoa.
I mean, it's massive. And then after the next halving, it gets cut in half again.
It's clear from Michael Saylor's discussion that the environmental concerns, which he calls the environmental FUD, has taken a huge toll on Bitcoin's reputation, and even its adoption to some degree. However, countless startups have emerged to address these concerns, with each startup targeting new ways to bring more environmentally friendly energy to Bitcoin. Take Hong Kong-based Liquid Stack, which aims to more efficiently lower the temperature of mining rigs, or Genesis Mining in Iceland, which exclusively uses renewable energy sources. These solutions, however, fail to address that even if all energy pumping into the Bitcoin industrial complex were green, at large scale its proof-of-work verification technology is inherently wasteful. With that said, as Mr. Saylor argues, the energy used by Bitcoin is nothing compared to what is used by planes, cargos, and even skyscrapers. To learn more about the latest crypto news, watch these videos here.